What's going on, everybody out there in fantasy football land? This is Ryan Williams, your host of the TFA Game Day Pod. This week, Anthony is out, so I will fill in, probably admirably. But, I got a lot of hosts with me to back it up, so we're going to be good to roll. Kevin Steele is here with me. I got Sam Holt, and I got Kai Brewer. Guys, how are we doing today? You got your lineup set?
I'm only tinkering a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. You got to. We only got about 55 minutes until lock, so this is the time where most of the important decisions are being made, right?
Yeah, that's why we're here to talk about those important decisions for everyone that's so
Absolutely. Kai, how's it going over there, man?
It's
How you
going
feeling
good.
this week? Colts coming off of a remarkable game there.
Yeah, Colts as remarkable as you can get playing the Browns, but they won't win today, so I got a different hat going for you guys. We'll see how much Kevin hates that, but yeah, I got too much Doug Baldwin and too many Cardinals wide receivers to not be antsy about today. So I had to pick up some Redskins and some Chiefs wide receivers not named Tyreek Hill just in case like Baldwin's out, which is pretty gross. I might start Josh Johnson or Albert Wilson if Baldwin's out. So
man, no, those are the pits.
That's gonna be gross.
Excellent. Well, I don't know where Kev is right now. He's probably somewhere tinkering his DFS lineups as he usually is on this Sunday mornings. But let's get into some of this chatter that's going around in the league. We got a couple of guys who are on the injury list, and that is going to affect a lot of decisions being made. So it looks like Carlos Hyde was dealing with an injury, hip injury, I believe. He was expected to be a game time decision, but it looks like he's going to play. Also, we got Michael Crabtree, who was dealing with the chest injury, probably from the embarrassment that the Oakland Raiders had against Washington, but he looks like he's not going to play. So Amari Cooper might find himself in a, matchup where he just is going to be the guy for Derek Carr. We got a lot of injuries here with Kelvin Benjamin as well, expected to miss. Is this affecting you guys at all, or how are you guys feeling about these situations?
Well, the league I have Kelvin Benjamin, and I also have Christian McCaffrey, and so I'm starting McCaffrey and I'm benching Benjamin.
Okay. Makes sense. I mean, if he's healthy, he's the best option there, right, without Olsen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it could be a really high-scoring game.
Yeah, I like that. And Patriots give up the second most yards out of the backfield to running backs in the league. So McCaffrey coming off a 100-yard receiving game last week, I think he could eat again today.
Kev, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing? How you feeling?
It's good. It's week 4. It's time to win that money. Got all my lineups locked, ready to go. Had to make some changes with Kenny Golladay coming out, but it's going to be a good week. The Chiefs play Monday night against the Redskins. You've already started talking your annual shit, like you do every week. And, we know the Chiefs are going to go 4-0. You're going to be the only, one of two teams left still undefeated after this weekend. So it's going to be good.
The Bills, you like the Falcons over the Bills for sure, Kev?
I mean, yeah. No, I don't think that's going to be all that close.
Tyrod Taylor might not be able to do too much to save the day there for Buffalo. But we're talking about these games here, and, it seems like it should be a pretty straightforward slate. I'm going to give some time here as people get in and start to get their questions in, but we can just talk about matchups here. Really high on the Atlanta team there. I think that they're in a great position. And I think that, Cincinnati as well, going to Cleveland, but I think that all those guys are going to be in a great spot. We talked about Mixon on the DFS podcast. And I think that this guy is just going to, eat against this Cleveland team who's dealing with some injuries on the defensive side. But maybe I'm the only one that feels that way.
No.
No, you're not alone. I just didn't want to jump right in.
No, totally fine. Totally fine.
No, yeah. I mean, anytime you wake up in the morning, you see some defensive injuries for your running back, you're pretty excited. Not that anyone getting hurt is exciting, but at the same time, people have been waiting for Joe Mixon to have some exciting numbers. So many other rookie running backs have had some great weeks. We're kind of waiting for that big, nice 20-point game to really get excited about him. So I think it could be a day that he goes, like you said, he goes off.
Yeah, I think with the change of offensive coordinator, Bill Lazor, you really saw last week they started to use what they had a little bit more rather than trying to do the same sort of stuff they've done in the past. A.J. Green, Joe Mixon, those are the best players on that offense, and they used them last week, and we're going to get another heavy dose this week.
No, absolutely, for sure. Kai, you started talking about Denver here. You got the Broncos hat on. They get to face an Oakland team. I'm actually in Denver right now on vacation, and, a lot of Oakland fans out here in Denver. It should be an exciting game, but without Crabtree, Raiders are going to have a tough time going against this Broncos defense. How are you feeling about the Broncos today with how Simeon looked in his last home game, throwing for 4 touchdowns?
I'm feeling good. Like you just said, Simeon has been terrific at home, like Roethlisberger-esque type splits from Simeon. I think Demaryius Thomas is a smash play this week in DFS. If you've got Emmanuel Sanders, you can fire him up too. The Raiders can't cover anybody. There's probably going to be a tight end. I wouldn't put my money on which tight end, but A.J. Derby, Jeff Hireman, Virgil Green, somebody's going to catch a pass against the Raiders. They can't cover anybody in the middle either. But you can also start C.J. Anderson. The Raiders defense just got tore up last week by Washington. They haven't really looked good all week or all year rather. And then on the Raiders side, I think I mentioned my bold predictions this week, my hot takes, that this was before I thought Crabtree would be out, but that Crabtree and Cooper would combine for 0 points, which is kind of absurd. But you look at the numbers in the past, they each average combined, I think it was less than 75 yards when they played Denver in the last 2 years that Cooper's been there. I think maybe somebody like Cordero Patterson or Seth Roberts could do well just because those top 2 corners are so great for Denver. And if Crabtree doesn't play, you look at marking down this whole offense, and especially Marshawn Lynch, because the Broncos have been the best run defense in the league through the first 3 games. So, I mean, we'll see. I don't expect a lot from the Raiders. And I think we could see another recipe like what happened to Dallas a couple weeks ago, where Denver they can't stop the Broncos and is not able to do much on offense. Zeke Elliott had less than a yard per carry or something ridiculous against the Broncos 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, he might as well have not played that game.
Yeah.
Like, not even just shown up.
So, yeah, I definitely am benching Lynch everywhere that I have him, which is not many places, but.
Right, yeah. Shouldn't be.
We're lucky enough to mention how many?
Yeah. I think there's one.
Sam, I'm going to go over to you, and you're, decked out in Pittsburgh here, really like that.
I'm ready.
How are we feeling about Pittsburgh here going against the Baltimore Ravens, who, they always have a tough time against them, especially in Baltimore. But Baltimore's defense is dealing with some injuries here to the front line. Brandon Williams, I believe, is going to be out, and Urban on that defensive line is going to be out. So Le'Veon Bell should be in a good spot, right?
You would think. He should be just fine. The only factor that really makes me a little bit worried is that it's at Baltimore, which we all know that we're not really the best on the road for whatever reason. I don't really understand it, but I think that because this is a divisional game, it'll be a lot closer and a lot more exciting. So I think that you should see a fun game from Bell today. Yeah, I'm all ready for it. I think that we're going to kill it. So the only thing I'm missing is my Steelers shoes.
What about Big Ben? If you have him, you benching him this week, you think he can still, do okay with I mean, Martavis Bryant pretty much has a favorable matchup, but Jimmy Smith should be seeing Antonio Brown. So that Ben likes to force some throws sometimes. Would this be a spot where you're sitting him, or are you okay starting him if you have him?
I think it really depends on who you have. I mean, if you don't have other options that you're more excited about, or maybe a different matchup that you think you could play, then I think that Ben is an okay start this week, just because it is a divisional game. He is going to go big because of that, and they're known for playing real hard against Baltimore, Cincinnati. So I think that you should be fine. You shouldn't be too worried starting him.
No, I don't think so either. I think that this is one of those games where it is a rivalry matchup, so you never know what to expect. But I feel like if you have him, then you just got to throw him up, because you're just going to be kicking yourself if you did bench him for somebody else and he actually does go off. This is a Steelers team that's looking to bounce back here. They had some qualms in the locker room there with not coming out for the anthem and what have you in Chicago, and a lot was made out of that. But not too many people talking about that. So we'll see how they bounce back and recover. Let's get into some of these other games here where we got, the Rams, who are facing Dallas in Dallas. Dallas just had a huge win over Arizona there in Arizona, and it looks like they're clicking and finding all the right pieces are fitting at the right time. Des Bryant found the end zone again, and he's been having some tough matchups, but we talked about it earlier. With Jermaine Johnson being on him, I think that Des Bryant should still be in a favorable matchup here. And this is a game where I'm really excited to see these running backs go against each other, Todd Gurley and Ezekiel Elliott on the same field at the same time. This should be some fireworks down here in Dallas.
Yeah, I think this could be one of the highest scoring games of the weeks. You saw what the Rams did to the Colts and what they did to the 49ers. And they've looked like the best offense against the Redskins so far too. So, I mean, you could take that for what it's worth. But, yeah, I think Watkins, you could fire him up. If you need to start Robert Woods, you can. Des Bryant, you guys talked about on the DFS DJ Nation pod this week, how he's a pretty good play in DFS. And then, obviously, you're starting Des Bryant if you've got him.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't and Gurley you're starting, Elliott you're starting, but I wouldn't overlook Cooper Kupp. Dallas has been kind of burned over in the slot over the last few games, especially last week from Larry Fitzgerald, who just absolutely dominated the Cowboys last week, even though, they did lose the game. But Fitzgerald was like the number 2 scorer in PPR. So I know Cooper Kupp has kind of disappointed some people that picked him up after week 1, but I think if you can fit him into a flex spot, I wouldn't hate that. I'd try to do that. I definitely have him in a couple of DFS lineups this week too.
Going off of that, I have a TFA question since you brought up Cooper Kupp. I have Kelvin Benjamin, Kupp, and Brandon Marshall. Which of those 3 would you start?
Who are the options again, Sam? Kelvin Benjamin?
Cooper Kupp or Brandon Marshall?
Oh, wow. I guess, you probably go Kelvin Benjamin there. That's
but like
ugly scenario.
Yeah, for me, just because I like Kupp a lot this week, that's pretty close. I would lean Benjamin in a standard and like Kupp in anything like half PPR or more. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you can overlook Brandon Marshall anymore. The Bucs got torched last week by Case friggin' Keenum. And Marshall, I mean, he didn't look back to the old Brandon Marshall, but he looked, at least like worthy of being on your roster last week against the Eagles. So part of that could be the Eagles secondary being so terrible, but yeah, I don't know. I definitely think Marshall's the 3rd there, but I think it's close between those 3 guys.
Yeah.
Kev, what do you think?
Kelvin Benjamin. I mean, I don't The
Kev,
Patriots.
are you there? Are you okay?
Yeah. The Patriots secondary has been awful all year. And I think this is a underrated spot for Kelvin Benjamin this week.
That's true, but so is Cam Newton.
It is.
True.
It is. Cup, though.
That's why it's close for me. That's the only reason.
No,
It's
go
just
ahead,
the way
Kai.
Cam Newton's been playing. Sorry.
I like Cup too. That was interesting what you were bringing up there, Kai. I think that Cup with Sammy Watkins being banged up, Tavon, even though he hasn't been much of a factor at all, he's been gone. But they still like to give him these end around handoffs. With those two guys being banged up, we could see a lot more from Cooper Kupp and Kelvin Benjamin. With this injury having lingered all week, he could go out there and be a decoy. So. Well, I do think Benjamin, when healthy, is probably the best decision that you can make at that position. I think maybe for this week, Cup might be in a spot where he could rack up some points.
Yeah, this is actually my big money league too, so that's why I tinker on this one all the time, because it's my work league, and I'm 3-0, so I got to keep up with the shit talk. So every week, I'm just like, I got to keep on it. Pounding these guys away.
Oh, for sure. Got to go for the 4. Got to go for a 4.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I get that 4, it's gonna shut up in the office finally. It'll be awesome.
Oh yeah, 100%. Let's see. We still got about 38 minutes here till lock. Guys, one thing I wanted to talk about here is these rookie running backs, and Zach Marmer. When we were doing our stuff in the preseason, his bold prediction was that 4 of the rookie running backs were going to finish in the top 15. And I haven't said anything to him yet, because we just need to give him props on this call, because I'm loving these guys. Mixon, McCaffrey, you got Dalvin Cook looking great. And all these guys, I feel like, find themselves in favorable matchups every week, especially with Bill Lazor being there and giving Mixon the workhorse role. How do we feel about all these rookie running backs going up today? Because I feel like all of them are in just fantastic spots.
Yeah, I think you like them. It might not be a question anymore of like, will 4 of them finish that high, but it might be a question of which 4 finish that high. There's so many guys playing so well. Cook, Fournette, Mixon now is finally getting the workload. I think he had 21 touches last week. You've got McCaffrey getting the workload. The Panthers willing to use him. Obviously Hunt, Kevin's Chiefs, Hunt's been tearing it up nonstop. Carson's got the starting job. Ryan, if Kelly continues to get hurt. There's so many rookies doing so well. I think I do kind of like all of those guys this week. I wouldn't be surprised if Fournette doesn't do well, just because that's the only thing the Jets seem to be like even competent at is stopping the run a little bit. They held Ajayi pretty well last week. And Marshawn Lynch was dancing on the sidelines, but against the Jets, but mostly because they didn't need him because they weren't running the ball very effectively. It wasn't because he tore up the Jets or anything like that. But yeah, I think you can roll all those guys this week. Mixon, Cook, McCaffrey, Hunt, obviously. And then the Colts have been surprisingly stout against the run so far, but it might just be who they've played. The Cardinals without David Johnson, and then the Browns. So, Todd Gurley had a low yards per carry, but he did have touchdowns against the Colts. So I don't think you're scared of that. So you could start Chris Carson this week too.
Yeah, I have Chris Carson as almost as an RB1 this week in my rankings. So I think he's in a fantastic spot, especially if Doug Baldwin doesn't play. But yeah, of course, they've all played very well. The top 4 or 5 guys, especially Kareem Hunt. I think he's the best running back in football right now, and I don't think it's a debate. I don't think anybody can argue that, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. So congrats to everybody that drafted him, especially before the Spencer Ware injury. You probably got him for a steal now. But Dalvin Cook looks like he's the real deal. Christian McCaffrey continues to play well. Leonard Fournette is always going to be game script dependent. And then, but I think and then Joe Mixon is starting to come on. So it's been a good year for rookie running backs so far.
No, absolutely. These guys are all amazing. And I was even bringing that up, we had Alvin Kamara, who got a 12-yard touchdown catch there in that Saints game. So, just the year of the rookie running back, it looks like they keep on doing work. I know Kev doesn't like to talk about him, but one of the guys that's been talked about a lot this week is Deshaun Watson, as he just had a phenomenal game against the Patriots, and he gets to go up against the Tennessee defense now, who has kind of been, up and down. Some weeks they seem like they're really tough, and then other weeks it seems like they can be had. So what are you guys thinking about Watson this week and just the Houston Texans in general in this game against Tennessee and Mariota?
I'm thinking Watson could have an interesting game here today. He's just so dynamic, and he's just getting better every week that he's played. So I have him in a league with Rivers, and Rivers has been doing crap. So I'm kind of tempted. I'm kind of tempted to roll the dice on that one.
Yeah, I think I know Kev's thoughts on Deshaun Watson since even before the draft. And I think this is finally the week where everyone's kind of like, hey, maybe I should start Deshaun Watson. The Titans defense doesn't scare me. I like the game script for the Texans to either keep it close or be behind. So you like that. And so all that being said, history tells us week he's going to poop the bed. Just based on all of that, like the one, everyone's finally on him. This is probably the week he's going to disappoint.
That's very true.
But you like the matchup. You like his floor, the way he's been running the ball. But I don't know. I'm just getting a weird feeling this week.
I mean, that'd be fantastic if he just shits the bed. That would be that'd be amazing, because then next week on the DJ Nation podcast, I can just lay it on Elliott hard. So, especially because the Chiefs play the Texans next Sunday night, so that'd just be perfect for me. But I think you have to like the matchup for him this week. As Elliott Chris, our co-host, like to say, this is Deshaun Watson week. So, I think you can play him over a lot of guys this week. That like Big Ben. I think if I had Deshaun Watson or was available, I would certainly start Deshaun Watson over Big Ben. I wouldn't play Big Ben. Really, you'd have to be pretty desperate to play Big Ben, in my opinion, in this game, especially on the road against Baltimore. I just don't think this is a good game for him whatsoever. So I would play Trevor Siemian over Big Ben. There's a lot of guys I'd play over Big Ben this week, but. As for Deshaun Watson, I think this is a great matchup. He likes to use his legs. It could be a little bit high scoring, which would help him out. I think you love DeAndre Hopkins. And then Will Fuller's back this week. So added another weapon in there to the offense. So I think it is could be wheels up for Deshaun Watson this week.
Wow, wheels up for Deshaun Watson out of Kev's mouth. That's going to be a keeper. Going to need to send that soundbite to Anthony.
Isolate that. Yeah,
yep,
sure.
Yep, we'll keep that. Going back, because we did touch on the Steelers earlier, but we have a question in the chat, and this falls on the Baltimore side. How are we feeling about Buck Allen this week going against the Steelers defense, who really has been, awesome to start the year? But they are dealing with some injuries. I know TJ Watt is banged up, but I think he was questionable coming into this game. Might play, but Stephon Tuitt's been banged up, the linebackers as well. But still, Buck Allen, he's been that workhorse back, but now they're saying Collins might get some work. So how are we feeling about Buck Allen, and is he startable this week?
I absolutely think he's startable this week. The Steelers have really struggled to stop pass catching backs. They've given up the third most receptions to running back so far on the year. I think he's an undervalued guy this week where a lot of people may not be playing him. But I do like that. And then the Steelers have also given up, I think, the fifth most rushing yards on the season as well. So you've been to be able to beat you can definitely beat the Steelers on the ground. I like Javorius Allen. I think he's going to be again heavily involved. A lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth after what he did after what the entire Ravens offense did last week. I like Buck Allen. I'm starting him today in multiple lineups and in DFS.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I like Buck Allen this week. I think he's at least an RB2 this week. Like Kev said, the Steelers haven't, and like Ryan said, the Steelers' injuries they've not been great against the run so far. Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard, tore him a new one last week. And I think the game script you kind of like Allen over Collins too. I know they've been using Collins more. But I think the way this game is going to pan out, I think they're going to need more third down work from Buck Allen than they will from Collins.
Nice. Awesome. Sam, you got any thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I think he's definitely worth a flex spot here if you've got him. To your points, Steelers do have a lot of injuries, and they're going to be making their points somewhere today. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was on the ground.
Okay, looks like we got some more questions rolling in here in the chat. I'm just going to start off with the first one that I see up here. This is a flex question, standard league, going back to Kelvin Benjamin or Duke Johnson in the flex.
Oh.
Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah, Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah, I think Benjamin. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being close, but yeah, Benjamin.
Okay, and then we got Rivers versus Philly or Stafford versus Minnesota. No, just not even. That doesn't even matter. So
it's Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers.
No, I'll say that the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings have been had on the offensive side of the through their secondary. Xavier Rhodes has been the only guy. The rest of their secondary has been completely atrocious so far to start the year. Terrence Newman looks old, like he is. Trey Wayans is awful, just completely awful. And they can be beaten by the tight ends. So it's not as I think it's actually pretty close. I think Marvin Jones is a fine play today. Eric Ebron is in a fantastic spot, and I think Theo Riddick could see a lot of work as well. But with no Kenny Golladay, I think that could be problems for Golden Tate, which a lot of people loved. But I think with T.J. Jones now moving up as the third wide receiver, I think he could end up moving into the slot while Golden Tate gets pushed onto the outside, which means he's going to be matched up with Xavier Rhodes, which is a terrible matchup for him. Xavier Rhodes is one of the best cover corners in the league. So, but I do think Stafford's still fine, and I still think that he can be usable in most formats.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're both fairly usable. It's pretty close. But I do like the matchup for Rivers. This is the softest cornerback group he's faced so far, and it is a home game. And all the games have looked like road games for the Chargers so far, so I don't really take that too much into account. But yeah, and I think the Rivers is going to have to score. I think it's a lot easier to throw on the Eagles than it is to run on them. But like Kev was talking about, I don't know that Minnesota scares me too much. All the running backs there, I think it scares me off a little bit from Abdullah and Riddick. But yeah, I think a slight edge to Rivers, like like they were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be Rivers for me there as well. Let's go in. TN's got a question, or I'm sorry, we're gonna go back one more. We got who to start: Sanders, Macklin, or Jeffrey. He's asking for two in a standard league. Emmanuel Sanders, Jeremy Macklin, or Alshon Jeffrey. Sam, we'll start with you, then Kai, then Kev.
Emmanuel Sanders, Jeremy Macklin, Alshon Jeffrey. I don't know why I want to say Sanders and Jeffrey.
Because it's the right answer.
Because it's the right answer. Well, then that makes me feel better that that's where my gut.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think that Sanders is going to have a great day today, and I don't know. I've never been big on Macklin. I always feel like he disappoints. So I would go Sanders and Jeffrey.
Yeah, I have the same answer. At first, when I thought it was just one wide receiver, then it was close for me between Jeffrey, just because he's seeing Hayward, and then Sanders. But yeah, I think you could do both of those. Macklin just has that bad taste in your mouth from last week. And then yeah, he's never been the most consistent guy. His best games have been when he has a touchdown, which of course he could do this week against the Steelers. But I think the Steelers, like we were just talking about, I think they can be had more on the ground so far this year. And then they've done better against number one wide receivers than most. They did okay against Stephon Diggs, and we saw what he did last week. So, yeah, I think it's those two. Kev, you said the same?
Absolutely. This is a smash spot for the Broncos this week. I think the Broncos crush the Raiders this week. The Raiders have no Michael Crabtree. The Raiders have been torched all year. The Raiders made Josh McCown look like a usable starting quarterback in the NFL with the Jets. So I think Simeon has another game like we saw a couple of weeks ago where he could throw two or three touchdowns. I think C.J. Anderson's in a fantastic spot this week. But, yeah, I love Emmanuel Sanders. I like Demaryius Thomas. Both of them are heavily targeted. Both are going to see tons of work. And then the Jeremy Macklin, I think, is going to see volume and enough to where he's in the conversation, because I think he could see 8 to 10 targets because they just don't have anybody else there in the offense to throw the football to, because Mike Wallace is dead. And so outside of Benjamin Watson, which is another guy I really like, a lot of people are nobody's talking about. The Steelers have not been fantastic against the tight end on the season. So I like Ben Watson, another guy that could see targets. But so I think it's close. Alshon Jeffrey, though, I think has a much higher upside than he does. So it's got to be Alshon Jeffrey and Emmanuel Sanders.
Nice. Yeah, Emmanuel, you can't bench him. I don't care you just can't bench him. He should eat this week. Let's go. TN's got another question for us. We're still dealing with flex position, guys, but this is 1/2 point per PPR. Delaney Walker, Pierre Garçon, or Sterling Shepard?
Delaney Walker, and it's not even close. That's easy.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin. Delaney Walker for sure. If you read my receiver article beginning this summer, I'm not a fan of any Giants wide receiver.
Pierre Garçon has not looked very good. As good as what everybody else. He hasn't been seeing the 76 targets a game that everybody said he was going to be seeing. So I'm not considering that. Especially he's going to be seeing Patrick Peterson. No, thank you on that. I do think Sterling Shepard has some appeal because the Buccaneers so far, although they've only played 2 games, have looked awful against the pass, just completely awful. We just saw what Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen did. Brandon Marshall, he's washed. And so I think Sterling Shepard's going to continue to see targets, and I think this is a great matchup for the Giants. Their passing attack, they throw 81% of the time, by far the highest in the league, so the volume will be there. So I actually like Eli this week. Obviously OBJ, who's not dead and is not as hurt as everyone thought he was, as he looked fantastic last week, traveling to Tampa. I think this is a great matchup for their offense. So I do think Sterling Shepard has some merit However, I just think with no Corey Davis, we know the rapport that he has with Marcus Mariota and Delaney Walker. I think Delaney Walker and Rashard Matthews are both great plays this week. So for me, because I think his touchdown upside is much greater, I think Delaney Walker, it's easy. But I do think that Sterling Shepard, if you own Sterling Shepard anywhere, that he's certainly at least worth a flex play.
In PPR or standard too?
And both, yeah.
I'd like to, if I may, just copy and paste everything Kev said, insert audio here, and then that's it. We're good.
No, right. I mean, so it appears that Ryan. I think Ryan is building lineups or something right now because every time he's just so.
No, I'm
here.
I'm here. I'm making sure we're getting the questions in the chat. And TN just said thanks. So just making sure we're hitting all those while you guys are spitting those fire takes that I know you guys all have. Besides Kev. But yeah. Looks like we got all the questions there answered.
It's the most fire on the show.
Okay, so what do you guys think about Bilal Powell this week going against the Jaguars? The Jaguars have been beaten. You do not beat the Jaguars, through the air. They have absolutely shut everybody down. It's not even close. But they have been very susceptible to the run. No Matt Forte this week for the Jets. So you're going to see a much higher volume for Bilal Powell. There is some concern there that maybe Elijah McGuire, who could see a bigger piece of the offense, and it could be somewhat of a timeshare. But Bilal Powell, if the Jets want any chance to beat the Jaguars this week, it's going to have to be through Bilal Powell. What do you guys think about Bilal Powell? Are you playing him? What do you guys think about him this week?
I think
I love Bilal Powell.
Yeah, he's definitely worth a flex spot. To everything that you just said, yeah. If they want to move the ball at all today, it's going to have to be through him.
Yeah, like you were saying, Kev, the Jags have been terrific against the pass and have kind of been vulnerable on the ground. That was the one thing the Ravens did do in that game was run the ball with Alex Collins, surprisingly well. I like Powell this week. I think he's a top 15 running back play. With Forte out, you love how much volume he's going to see. And I think after Josh McCown's second interception, they're, going to stop letting him attack downfield. So, I really like Powell this week. Even if the Jets don't do much, I think the one thing they can do is dump off passes to Powell and running with Powell. And like you said, McGuire might cut into that time a little bit. But I don't think it's enough this week that it'll scare you away from Powell just because they like to use two guys no matter what. Sometimes frustratingly so.
Yeah, I like Powell this week too. Anytime you can give me a guy who's going to see lion's share of the work, I think it's good. And even season long DFS, I think that he definitely could be somebody who. I mean, who else do they have on the Jets, really? I mean, Jermaine Kearse, he started off strong, but I think that, those guys out there in Jacksonville are going to be able to shut down these wide receivers. Austin Seferian-Jenkins was a guy that we talked about this week, but it's Austin Seferian-Jenkins, so I can't get too high on him. So I think Bilal Powell is the key for this offense to get something going. It looks like we have another question here, and I think there's a pretty distinct answer of where to go. We like Mac Ryan this week is one of the questions, and then he was also asking, should he pick up Trevor Siemian? So I guess he's asking, should he pick up Siemian to start over Matt Ryan?
No, that's a little unnecessary. I don't know what has him scared to start Matt Ryan, but
I would agree with you 100% on that, Sam. I think it's pretty obvious, but
unless we saw something on Twitter last night that said that Matt Ryan was out at bars and probably not going to be hungover this morning, I don't see him.
I think it's both. I think I like Matt Ryan this week, but I think you should also pick up Simeon just because you can't start Ryan next week. The Falcons are on a bye, so
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think you can do both.
You can do both. You can start Ryan this week, and you can start Simeon next week. So if you can grab him right now before the bye weeks start, which is something we should definitely talk about because bye weeks do start next week, and everyone's going to start panicking, which is probably where this question is coming from. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, good points there, guys. Excellent points there. Defense, we got Houston or Rams. So Houston going against Tennessee or the Rams in Dallas.
Just before we go on, I just want to correct something. Simeon's bye is also next week, apparently. So never mind. Pick up somebody else though, for sure.
Of course.
Yeah, it's always like Sam was saying. Once these bye weeks start, it's better to get your guys, that you're going to need a week early than it is having to, scramble to start Josh McCown or Case Keenum or somebody. So yeah, maybe see who else is on waivers that you can maybe start next week.
Shout out to Kai there taking the time to do some digging there and research. So
the Falcons
we can get
have a bye. But when is who do the Broncos play?
That was good to look up. You just saved someone in their league.
Yeah, well, and we would have got roasted pretty quick in the comments on the YouTube, I think.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
To be fair, we're all very tired, so it's not, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what you get on the morning podcast. So, especially live. So this is you're inside to what we actually, talk about on a daily basis here. What are you guys thinking about these defenses here? I know defense is one that we like to stream, and everybody always has a hard time picking one. So I'd much rather play Houston against Tennessee, just because I just don't really trust the Rams going against Dallas in Dallas. But that's just me.
I agree with you.
I think.
Yeah, I don't. No, sorry. I like this question because I feel like a lot of people have been streaming both of those defenses, and this is an interesting matchup week because I feel like Dallas at Dallas is the only reason I would not start the Rams defense. So I agree. I would go Houston.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things going. They're both playing, good offenses, and the Titans and Cowboys, obviously. The Texans are at home, or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, you like the Texans being at home versus the Rams having to play, in Jerry World. And then the other thing you got to look at with defenses is turnovers. These quarterbacks are both, notoriously, good in that regard. They don't throw a lot of interceptions. As far as sacks go, I think you like the slight edge to the Texans. The Cowboys' offensive line, they've looked a little worse than they have last year, but they're still terrific. And I think the Rams haven't quite gotten back to how they looked before, but the Texans, I think, whether it's Whitney Merciless, Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt should probably get a sack this week. They're just so sack prone. It's kind of gross. And I think Sam pointed out the biggest difference is like them being at home versus road. I hate starting road defenses unless they're like Broncos, Seahawks level. But yeah, Kev, you have any thoughts on those defenses?
Yep, those are all great.
Oh man. Yeah, it looked like we were talking about backup quarterback there, just to go back to the Ryan Simeon debate. So not starting one over the other, but just backup. So let's go into tight ends here. We got a Delaney Walker or Jimmy Graham question. Looks like it's standard.
Well, I mean, the Colts are terrible, but I think Graham. I mean, they took Graham off the injury report, I think yesterday or the day before, something like that. So he should be healthy and ready to go. Had a couple injuries he was dealing with, a knee and an ankle, I think. But I really like Delaney Walker this week. Kev had some good points earlier on that. Decker still hasn't been involved as much in that offense as they want him to be. So I think until that happens, Walker is going to see a nice floor of targets. And Graham, I like his upside more against the Colts just because they are so bad. But I gotta lean Walker just because Graham. They say he's healthy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he plays, a little slow, a little dinged up.
Yeah, I would go the safe route and play Delaney Walker. You know what you're going to get. Great matchup. So I'd play Delaney Walker. If you were streaming tight end this week, who would be the guys you guys would like? Who are you gravitating towards?
Well, your Benjamin Watson call earlier was good.
Is Watson playing though? I know he was banged up.
Yeah, he's in.
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like Charles Clay again. I think he's in a favorable matchup. I kind of like Eric Ebron. I don't think a lot of people are talking about him, but with Galladay being out, I think Ebron should go in and see a majority of the workload there.
No, I agree. I think that Austin Seferian-Jenkins is definitely an option this week. I think they look to get him more involved. They have anybody else. I think in the red zone, he could see a ton of targets as well. So I think he's certainly a guy that people should have interest in. And I think Tyler Kroft. I said it on the podcast, the DJN podcast, and I'll say it again. I think he's in play. Solid, respectable amount of targets last week. We know Tyler Eifert's not going to be playing. Andy Dalton likes to target the tight end, so I'm not running out there all over my waiver wire to try to grab him. But if you're desperate in a deep format and you need a tight end, I think Tyler Kroft could have 40 yards and a touchdown today.
Yeah, I like those. I'm not bold enough to start Kroft, but I definitely am starting ASJ this week in a league where I have Tyler Eifert out. So I like that. I like the Benjamin Watson this week. Charles Clay, if he's on your waiver, go grab him. He's got such a safe floor, and that's what you need from your tight end. These guys are so volatile that the highest scores are going to be whoever scores a touchdown, and then whoever just gets pelted with targets. That's about it. So I think, if Charles Clay's still on the waiver, run, do not walk to pick up Charles Clay.
I like that. I agree with that Charles Clay pickup. If you're streaming and in a tight spot because there are so many injuries, I think that he'd be a good one.
Yeah, a lot of options to be had here at tight end this week. While we're still waiting for questions coming in, is there any player that you guys feel 100% confident about this week that, if you have them in standard league or not standard, but if you have them in season long, or if you're playing DFS that you really just are excited to watch today because they're just in such a favorable matchup?
We were talking earlier about running backs, and I think that we all agreed that Todd Gurley was going to be an exciting watch today.
No, I agree. I think with the injuries to the Cowboys defense with no Sean Lee, I think it really is going to open the door for Todd Gurley to continue success. So, yeah, I think Todd Gurley is an interesting guy. I'm excited to see the entire Chiefs just continue to just stomp mud holes into the NFL. So it just let's just keep that going.
Stomp mud holes? I don't think I've ever heard that phrase before.
Never heard that before.
What does that mean? Stomp.
I don't know. Like the person's made of mud, and so you're stomping holes that are made of mud, or your foot has mud on it, so you're just leaving dirt everywhere you stomp. I don't know what that means.
bunch of young people around here.
I'm not that young. I'm gonna be 30 this year. I'm getting old.
Oh yeah, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah, I'm only 32, so I guess it's a Midwest thing. I guess I don't know what else to say. I don't know. I thought that was a pretty common phrase.
It could be. It could be a Midwest thing.
Yeah, that makes sense for Midwest. We don't get mud out here in California because it doesn't rain.
Oh well, I don't know. So
I think as far as one guy, I'm really excited.
That's hilarious.
To watch.
Quite the conversation there.
Yeah. Right.
Fantasy owners
5 minutes to go, and we're talking about mud.
5 minute warning. 5 minute warning. It looks like we have a question about Eifert. Is he safe to drop? Always injured. He needs to start opening up a spot for bye weeks. My opinion is yes. My opinion is you can't trust Eifert ever, so he doesn't need to be on any of your teams. But definitely with bye weeks approaching, you got to start freeing up some space. So I think he's droppable.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally.
I definitely have him in a league. I'm waiting one more round of injury to see if he's like maybe coming back next week. But if I don't hear anything positive by your waivers Tuesday, Wednesday, then yeah, I'm probably gonna have to drop him, like Ryan said, with the buys coming up.
there's no reason to have him on your roster. He's an easy drop.
Hey, Kevin, is he dead?
He's dead. He's dead. The Tyler Eifert hype has come and gone. There's no reason to have him on your roster. And you should be freeing up a roster spot for Josh Gordon. So that's that. There's that.
You trying to tell me Tyler Eifert, the red zone monster, is dead, and you're and you're talking about Josh Gordon, Kev?
This is a happy place for Josh Gordon. We accept. There's no slander against Josh Gordon here. So
listen, I got nothing against the man, but I only got 16 to 20 spots on my roster, and I'm not gonna stick a guy who last time he played in the NFL did not look great, definitely did not look startable, and then is also not currently in the NFL.
His time's coming.
That's how much Kevin.
Whoever you drop, Kev, whoever you drop for Josh Gordon, I'm sure he's already on all your teams, but whoever you did drop for Josh Gordon, I'll just pick up that player and I'll be happy about it.
I have Josh. I don't know if you guys can you guys see this?
Oh, that's just white.
Oh my God.
Can you see Josh Gordon there?
Suspended, but he's on your roster.
Oh my gosh!
Just so we know, the people know that it's real. That
So you're starting the Josh Gordon hype train right now. All engines go.
Apparently, Ryan, she just told us that she doesn't listen to the TFA podcast because this has been going for a few weeks. I don't know.
Some people ride the hype train. Some people conduct the hype train. Kev has taken the Josh Gordon hype train and built it. Like, he laid the tracks, he put the bolts in.
Throwing Sam under the bus too while he's at it.
I know.
Welded everything together.
Or throwing her under the train, I guess.
Totally to throw me under the bus.
Too funny. We're getting close to lock here, guys. We're getting close to lock here. Rob Kelly is another one that is being mentioned. Is he droppable at this point with how Chris Thompson's playing and P. Ryan looking to be the backup there?
I don't want any part. Not named Chris Thompson of the Washington of their backfield. So I think I don't even think Samaje Perine is really valuable either. He's looked awful in any chance he's gotten so far. So I don't want any part of him either. So I wouldn't want any part of any of the Washington backfield outside of Chris Thompson.
Yeah, and like we said, you got bye weeks coming up, so you're gonna want to empty out some roster spots to pick up. So I don't think that he's worth rostering right now.
I think it depends on your situation. It depends on who you have at running back. I think Kelly's still worth a stash just because he has, looked good, and they haven't said that, he's lost the starting job or anything like that. So if he gets healthy soon, I think he's still startable. Like I said, depending on your situation, you probably have running backs that are better than that. But I think he'd be worth a stash. I don't think you need to roster P. Ryan unless you were counting on Rob Kelly before. I don't think you need to roster P. Ryan with the buys coming up and everything like that. But Chris Thompson, if he's still on your roster, I don't know why. You got to sell this dude. You've got to sell him. The stat has been everywhere this week that he has 2.7 fantasy points per touch, which is ridiculous. I think if you haven't found somebody to bite on trading Chris Thompson for at least like an RB2 or RB1 with a receiver to trade with or something like that, then you're not trying hard enough, man. You got to sell Chris Thompson.
One more minute. Josh Gordon is coming. He's coming, folks. Josh Gordon. It's all the Josh Gordon soon. And when it happens, I'll be the one on top of the mountain peering down at everybody else saying, I told you so.
Will you throw me under the bus again, Kev?
Well, I'm just trying to keep everybody honest here.
Well, as long as we're keeping people honest, Kev, I think the listeners need to know, do you have Ricardo Lewis in at least one lineup this week?
I do. There's no way I couldn't not have Ricardo Lewis in the lineup because it would just be the worst if he just smashes this week for 5 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. And I got off the train a week too early, so I'm back on the Ricardo Lewis. It's not smash week Ricardo Lewis, but it's nudge him into your lineups and just feel okay about it.
Listen, if he had 4 catches for 67 yards and a touchdown, I would not be surprised in the slightest.
He had 6 targets last week. Kaiser was awful.
Catch. Was like 6 targets, 1 catch, and 10 yards.
Kaiser was awful for like the first 3 quarters, and then finally was able to do something. And so
he's giving the Kais a bad name last week. Come on, man.
I know it wasn't good.
It's not good. I'm stuck with Kai Forbath if Deshaun Kaiser doesn't do anything, man.
Hey, Kai Forbath is looking nice, man. He'll kick some 50-yarders. He keep the cotton name strong.
I've drafted him as my kicker in like the 16th round of so many leagues, just like as an honorary member of the team. Because I just stream kickers anyway, so why not just draft the dude that has your name?
That's it. Oh man, Kai's staying strong. Well, looks like lock just happened, guys. I'll let you guys have any final words if you have them before we sign off. Getting a lot of props in the chat there. Everybody's saying good luck. So I think we should all say good luck to each other as well too, except for Kev. I really don't. With the Chiefs being off, I just hope his fantasy day is not as great either.
Oh, dude, it's smash. I'm just hoping to take down a couple GPPs, and if you guys listen to my takes during the DFS pod, then you guys would be just smashing Tyler Kroft this week, like 5 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. It's happening.
That's gross.
And Wendell Smallwood. Wendell Smallwood is also the other guy I forgot to mention. I love Wendell Smallwood this week.
I like it. Nice and hot.
Yeah.
Before we head out, the Colts, I don't expect them to do anything good tonight, except for from a little bit of T.Y. Hilton, but that's about it. Although the Seahawks have been torn up like 4 weeks in a row on the ground. I don't understand. Anyway, I just want to give one quick shout out to my uncle who I play in a league with. Is turning 50 today. So happy birthday, Uncle Rick. Sorry I had to do you like that in week 1, but listen, it's just fantasy football. It's just fantasy football. No hard feelings.
That was equally sweet and cold.
You have to. You can't be too nice.
That was a nice shout out, Kai. That was a nice shout out.
So glad I beat you in week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to hopefully watching Joe Mixon get it going today.
Oh yeah.
For purposes, and I'm looking forward to enjoying a full day of watching my Steelers. I'm all decked out, ready to go. I'm hoping that we can actually have a really positive road game. So,
yep, the 2-2 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, hopefully we end up 10-6. That's the goal.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Steelers can get something done as well too. Beating Baltimore would even just be icing on the cake because I can't stand the Ravens at all.
Oh yeah, the Ravens are awful. I can't tell you how many times I've swiped left on Ravens fans. I'm like, no, never even.
Not even.
Not a chance.
Well, with the games being on, guys, we're going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining us here at TFA Game Day Pod. Thanks to the co-hosts here with me, Kevin Steele, Sam Holt, Kai Brewer. You can find all of us on Twitter, and make sure you guys are following the Fantasy Authority at FF_authority on Twitter. We will catch you guys next Sunday to help answer all of your questions and get you set up for Week 5. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you.
Peace.
Peace.